Okay, we are live. I am attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Mr. Darren Guai. Mr. Guai, how are you this evening?
I'm good, Mr. Davis. I went.
Co-host, Mr. Darren Guai.
Just hold on a minute.
Mr. Guai, how are you this
Get a little
evening?
back, Mr. Davis talk
Mr.
there.
Davis, I went.
Co-host, Mr. Darren Guai.
Hey, it wouldn't be a show. Look at it. Wouldn't be a show without the millions,
studio.
right? Wouldn't be a show without the one flaw of the audio.
How's things in Maine today?
They're all right. It was a beautiful day, getting all the yards picked up and everything from all the. I mean, the damage that was done up here was crazy. You know, the sticks and all that. And my internet, I'm finally. It seems like I'm not freezing right now, so it seems like I've got all those quirks worked out since. So I'm ready. I was talking to this gentleman who's pretty amazing. He's got some good stuff for us.
I see we have a co-host sneaking in. It's Deidre Payne.
Oh,
Payne from Orange County, California. How are you, Deidre? Is she in a spaceship, a car,
Yeah.
or what's she in?
it looks like she's passed out. She looks like me.
Well, I think she's frozen.
Oh, okay. You thought that my picture was good. You should see that one.
Hey, we have a special guest, I see. Mr. Jeff, is it Glazer?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Jeff. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. How about yourself?
Good. Where are you calling in from?
Michigan.
Ah, what part?
Cass County, southwest, kind of like down by Indiana.
So what's going on in Michigan with CPS?
A whole lot of corruption.
Really?
Of course, I didn't help matters none. I fight them. I listened to a lot of stuff on the internet, and I did what these people would say, you know, like name shame them. I would take the stuff from court. You know, I had the DVDs, and I would put it out on the internet and call a judge corrupt and say I found criminality in the court, and put the prosecutors out there and the caseworkers and things that they would do and say wrong. I've really found out that's not the way to try and fight against these people to get your daughter back. I did everything wrong doing that.
If you were advising a parent today who just had a CPS case that started, what would you say to them?
First thing, don't call them criminals. Don't call them public servants. That got me 26 weeks of anger management classes, just telling a lady you're a public servant. Do what they ask. You know, go take your drug test. Show them every time that your medicines change. But the biggest thing I would say is find a spot in government that you can run for, because we're never gonna. I had protests downtown. I parked a truck out there and I wrote on all the windows how they're baby killers and they're getting kids raped, and I did everything so wrong. But I thought I was just standing up for my rights, and I didn't realize I was screwing up my rights. Then they started talking about putting my daughter up for an adoption because I wouldn't stop fighting them. So I thought about how can I continue to fight them, do the same stuff, just in a way they cannot come back on me. And I realized it's an election year, so I started talking to the people that were running for politics, and the man said, "Hey, you like to talk. Why don't you go down and get your name on the ballot?" I said, "What the hell? Why not? I ain't going to win, but I'll do it for, you know."
Yeah, you
Well,
did.
I ended up winning. So I became a Cass County elected official. I'm a delegate. And then I started learning all the local officials and all the state officials and all the federal, getting all their phone numbers. And now I'm running for county sheriff.
Oh,
And,
Wow.
well, you can't get the local PD to do the job. You can't get the county to do their job. You can't get the state to do it. And you can't get the FBI. So if I can't get nobody to do the job, I'll run for it. And if I get it, I'll go do that job. I will protect these children. I'll make it where no judge will be able to, in Cass County anyhow, sign a warrant to remove children without my personal trained officers going and doing an investigation.
No, that's what I talk. No, that's what I'm talking about. Making changes yourself in the law.
That's the only way we can do. I figured that out. We can protest all we want. We can stand there and fight tooth and nail, and all we do is make these people dig in more and hurt your children more and hurt you more. Last 4th of July, I just completely broke down. The worst person in the world is one that they've taken everything from. You have nothing else left to lose. And I felt like I was at that point. And so I asked God for help. And right away, it came into my brains that it's not everything that I've lost. It's everything I can regain. And since that point, I have caught the court giving me its husband that it sleeps with every night as an attorney. When I found that out, I made court go backwards. Also found out your attorney should always do background checks on any doctors, any other attorneys, therapists, because the so-called doctor who told the judge within the first 8 minutes of our very first court hearing to terminate, the man has never had a license to be a doctor. He goes around all the different states and charges people and puts himself out there as a licensed doctor. Colorado went and sent him a cease and desist order. And then in 2020, Michigan Attorney General brought him up on charges, told him, you either get a license or you stop. And so in 21, he finally got a limited license. But he was playing supervisor over people that have a limited license, and come to find out that's really illegal, just like the court giving me its husband. But I got a big question for you. After a year of CPS trying to take my parenting rights and put my daughter up for adoption, last Friday, they sent me a letter stating that termination is off of the board now. Have you ever seen that happen?
Occasionally you get to see that happen. What about you, Deidre?
you're being mean. I'm being quiet too. I don't even know what he asked because you're being mean. He was putting my picture only up there big because I don't know why. But now that I got a chance to talk real quick, did you get your child back at least?
You know,
He's still in the case, Deidre.
Oh, I missed that part. Okay.
So what he's saying is that they recently said to him that they took off the termination of parental rights.
You mean they had terminated your rights and they took it back, or you were about to maybe
Yeah,
have your rights?
no, after a year, they took it right off the board. They're no longer trying to terminate my rights.
And you've been in this for 3 years now, correct?
August the 18th, it'll be 3 years.
How many
Oh my gosh,
children?
that's when my kids were taken, August 2020.
How many children involved?
Well, there's actually 2 children involved. They got the oldest one raped by her biological father. And then, 12 days before they came and took my daughter, the caseworker came and said, everything's perfect. There's no problems. There's no safety, anything. Then the other one's dad failed his lie detector test and went ahead and said what he had done. So then they came and took my daughter. The only thing I can guess is because they were trying to make us keep our mouth shut.
About what?
About them getting a 13-year-old girl raped by her biological father.
How did this happen?
She never really knew who her dad was. And then she finally found out who her dad was. And she started talking to him. And then he told her that, if she wants to come live with him, make up some allegations. So she said that I raped her, a neighbor raped her, her mom would beat her and cut her with a razor blade knife and burn her with a fire poker and all kinds of crazy stuff. And me and the other guy, we went and took a lie detector test and we passed. And then we were cleared by the police and we were cleared by CPS. But the lady from DHS, high-ranking lady, she's second in command, she's the one who put the child with her dad with nobody's permission. And it was, right there where COVID started. Nobody ever went back to check on her. And then she got raped by her dad. So they come and took my little girl.
Did the father get arrested?
Yeah, he's in prison.
Oh,
he's in prison. He got 15 to 30 years.
Okay, good. That's the most important.
Yeah.
For that. That's just terrible. I mean, but so then because of this, then they just came and took, because you couldn't keep her out of jeopardy? Is that why they said that you couldn't have her? Is that why did they take her?
They said that we failed to protect my daughter from what happened to my stepdaughter. We didn't fail at anything because we never gave permission for her to be put with her dad. April of 2020, her mom had found a picture in Facebook where she had black eyes, and we tried all weekend to get hold of the CPS person who was doing the investigation. And it took me till Monday to get a hold of the man. And he told me point blank, I don't give a shit for what you see on Facebook. I will not investigate anything. But that's because his hands got tied because the second in command over DHS had already put her with her father. So there was nothing he could really do. His hands were tied. He wasn't going to, go against number 2. And if he would have, though, we probably could have prevented her from getting raped. But it didn't work that way. We tried to protect her. They just
I mean,
fixed our where there was nothing we could do to help the little girl.
and then now she's removed from both of her families. So she's removed from you guys now, where she should be getting better with all of this, right? Because she's gone too, right? So it's your girl and then your stepdaughter
Yeah.
that are both been removed.
Yes. They already put the other one. They took her mom's. Well, they terminated her from her mom, and so she's probably gonna get adopted by her aunt.
So this little girl gets raped by her father, and then see her away from her mother, and puts her out into the system. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
And then they take
Yep.
your daughter,
And they
because she's guilty by association, and then they say that you weren't safe. Wow, that's sick. Those are sick people. That little girl needs her mother and her mother in her life to support her and get her through these things. Not, oh. What do you say about that, Mr. Dave?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate turn of events, these CPS cases. I don't know enough about the case, but it sounds all the same to us. Social workers making decisions, either because they like you, don't like you, or they just have their own social agenda. But does your daughter want to come back to you?
Now it's kind of hard to tell. And the 18th, it'll be 3 years, and they, what a First Amendment auditor is, right?
I mean, the guys that take videos of what's going on?
Yeah, they go around to all of our buildings. Well, December the 13th of 21 is the last day I seen my little girl, because auditor group went to DHS on December the 16th. Now, DHS, them people, they really know me. They know me pretty well. But they called 911 and said that I was there filming and stuff. Well, what they didn't think would happen is the police would show up in 43 seconds. And I guess they didn't think I knew about voyeuring the stuff. So I voyeured 911 call, and I voyeured the body cam. And then the cops got there in 43 seconds, and the one cop walked up to one guy, and he goes, "Well, where's Jeff at?" Well, he don't know who I am, so he didn't answer him. And then that officer and the chief walked up to the other guy and said, "Where's Jeff at?" And he don't know me, so he didn't answer neither. They went inside, got the workers' attention. They lifted their blind, and the officer stands up and he looks at them two guys, and he looks back at this person, and he goes, "So where's Jeff?" They take him, they tell him, "Let's go in the back room." So then officers go in the back, and he leans up against there's like a partition there, and he leaned his back up against, and he looked down the right side, he looked down the left side, he goes, "So where's Jeff at?" And the one lady goes, "Well, he's not back here." And the other lady says, "Well, he's out front. He got out of that van, and there's two of them out front." And the chief of police says to her, "Yes, you're right. There are two people, but neither one of them are Jeff." The other lady goes, "Yeah, you're right. We just suspected it was Jeff, but you're right. Jeff is not here." Now, I've got a recording from the other officer, because he says on his body cam that he's going to go to the prosecutors. So I asked him, when you went over to the prosecutors, because them guys, when they left there, they went to the courthouse. And so this officer is back on their video again at the courthouse. And I asked him, I said, "Did you tell that prosecutor I was not there?" He goes, "Yes, I did tell him you were not there." and I got that recorded. So the next day on the 17th, so the prosecutor knew on the 16th I was not there. On the 17th, this caseworker gets back in the office because she wasn't there on the 16th. She goes to the prosecutor, and he knowingly allows her to commit a felony by falsifying a police report because he already knew I had not been there. Then he allows her to fill out an affidavit and swear under oath that I was there. So he knew he was letting her commit another felony. Then on December the 20th, this prosecutor and this state worker goes into the judge and commits them felonies again. And along with committing those felonies, I don't know if alienation is a felony or a misdemeanor, but they're also guilty of alienating me from my daughter and my daughter from me.
Mm-hmm. They do that. They certainly do that.
And so once I realized that this prosecutor had been committing felonies in court and allowing a state worker to commit a felony, I took all that to the state police, and they said, well, there's nothing we can do. And I called the FBI, and they said, well, there's nothing we can do. So that's when I came up with the idea I would just run for the county sheriff. I will do the job, and I will keep the rest of the people in Cass County safe at the best of my ability, anyhow.
How many people in Cass County?
There's about 2,300, maybe closer to 2,500. But
So you guys have what,
Good day.
1 or 2 sheriff deputies?
yeah, they got quite a few sheriff deputies.
When is the election, in November?
Yeah, for 24.
And that's when you're
So,
running?
yes, I've been out. I'll talk to people that I ain't never even seen, and they're giving me hugs. I also helped a senator become a state senator, and he's also on oversight committee. So I took him a bunch of this evidence, but they gotta get the majority before they can actually do anything. But I'm working with him. If the Republicans get more seats this year than the Democrats, then he's going to help me, and we're going to work together on making some laws to protect children more from these people. And another thing I've been doing is calling all our congressmen up in Washington that are on the oversight committee. I mean, they're on the TV every single day, so it's really easy to find their phone numbers. And I've been calling all them, explaining to them, and I talked to the one's office in Tennessee. I explained them everything. I gave him the case numbers on this person who was supposed to be a doctor, and he told me, he said, here's what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to send this to the congressman, but I'm also sending this to every single person on the oversight committee up there.
Mm-hmm.
If we got more people calling and demanding to speak to the congressman or their secretary, get our stories out there and have them send it up to the oversight committee, then we can do something. Because I'm sure everybody, or most everybody, knows that in '97, Bill Clinton signed that bill into law to help states put people's children up for an adoption.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in '98, adoptions had went up 80%. In 99, there's a thing that said, and now it didn't say 35 states were going to share in $20 million. It said 35 states are receiving $20 million for putting our children up for adoptions. And so that's a bill we have to get, abolished. Got to get it out of there.
How do you think
You
the
need to
best
get it
way
all
to
out
do
of
that
it.
is?
What's that?
What is the best way to do that?
I think if everybody now, I do like Trump. I just wish he would keep his mouth shut a lot more. A lot of his arguments we don't need to see and hear about.
Yeah.
The Indian dude, I don't want to murder his name, but if we can get hold of their campaigns, and if enough people start calling or putting on their websites about how CPS is doing things, if we got the president, he's the one who can abolish whatever Clinton signed.
Well, that ain't happening with this guy. I'm not going to get into that, but that won't happen with this one. We need to get a new one in there.
Exactly. Well, why do you think Biden has got our southern border wide open to get new merchandise up here? I think they said there's like 90,000 kids completely missing. They don't know where they went to.
Yep.
They're putting them in them sweatshops, making them work. They're children. They shouldn't be out there working.
No, I thought we got rid of that back in 1902 or something along those lines, right? That was a long time ago, not now.
Well, actually, I thought Lincoln abolished slavery. But all this is a legal form of slavery.
Sure is.
They're taking our children. Now they're taking, children from Mexico and Venezuela and whatever all them other countries are down there. And they're putting them out there to be in the sex trade.
Well, here's the problem. This is the problem with this whole thing. Is no one believes these stories. No one understands. Like Mr. Davis has been doing this for how long? I mean, this guy's been promoting the fact that CPS has been wrongfully taking children for, I'm not sure how long, but I know he's been a lawyer for quite some time. But so 30 years anyway, and nobody is still biting to the fact that not just because Mr. Davis doesn't get into the conspiracy. It's not even conspiracy. It's truth. I 100%. But no one gets into that because I don't know if they're scared, if they don't want to, or if they don't believe it. What is it going to take for the American people to realize that what you're saying is true? What Mr. Davis is doing this, well, I've now just decided to call it Davis's drive for justice. But like this guy's been trying for the past year to put together a drive to get people in each state to vote. Because the only way, none of us are winning in the courtrooms other than Davis. Like the CPS is still gunning hard. They're taking our kids away. So the only way to do something about this is to vote for them, right? So, but in the interim, what are you going to do? You got to make these people believe that these people are doing wrong. Right, Deidre?
We see, the only way we're going to do this is if we can actually get hold of the people that are running for president. If we can get that
march to the White House.
The Indian guy, well, I've called the White House I don't know how many times. They'll just hang up on me. But if, you got Tim Scott. He seems to be a pretty upstanding guy. If somebody can get a hold of his campaign and now I did get a hold of his campaign and they did call me back. I told him I need to speak with Mr. Scott to explain to him in more detail. And if they will start running on protecting our children, abolishing, kids do need protection.
Of course.
But they need to abolish CPS.
They need to take away the whole funding part of it or make the funding be opposite, meaning if you reunify with the family, you get more like funding or incentives, that kind of thing. But
yeah.
They're making it too much about money if they take kids away and adopt them out.
Are you aware of any politicians that are running on that? Are you aware of any politicians right now that they're running as that's their point?
No.
That's their,
I mean, they all say we want to protect. They all say we want to protect kids, but none of them actually.
I think that's one of the things too.
Want
Mr. Davis's drive here to get these politicians is I think everybody in each state, if they're the team captains, they need to get who their politicians are in office now, and they need to find out who's going to be running in this next election, and they need to start promoting to the people and doing like you just said. I mean, because look, if you're calling and they're answering, that means that everybody else should be calling and doing the same thing. Like, let's get these numbers out here. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us. And if strength in numbers means something, I mean, you have 9 million kids in 20 years have been taken. That's an awful lot of Americans that are fed up, upset, and ready to use their fingers as a voting tool to put someone in office that's willing to stop this. But we just got to rally them up, man. And you're like one of the few people that we've had on this show or even heard that is even actively doing something instead of sitting in your house and bitching and whining and complaining about it. You're doing something. And you're moving forward. You know, like, look at you ran for your local town office, didn't even think, you just thought it was on a whim and whatever. And look at you won. You actually made a choice to do this and get into a position where you kind of do have a say. And then now your next run is going to be for the sheriff's office. Like 2 elections, you've just put yourself into a position of power that can make a change. Now, if there's a lot of other people in this country that can do the same, that have the same thing in their heart, why aren't we doing it? See, it's like this, people. This guy didn't even believe that he could do it. And look at where he is now. Listen to him.
And I tell you something, I am considered illiterate. I don't read and spell good, but I can remember things. I can learn things. And that's where these people made their mistake. When they found out I was a truck driver. I can drive any place. I can read a road map like that, no tomorrow. But I can't sit down and just read a book.
Yeah.
But I understand our Constitution.
Well, that doesn't.
I understand right and wrong. You know, it's like with the judge, that prior judge. I can absolutely prove her colluding and conspiring with DHS. I have the actual proof. I mean, this judge even went so far as to say she's confused. She don't understand any of it. And she was so confused, she called me, my daughter's stepdad. At the end, she said, I find the partitioner's case was very, very, very weak. But I find there to be criminality in the home. It could be drugs. It could be alcohol. It could be a number of anything.
Right. Well, this all being said, and for what you just said, we got a little bit more time here. What are some questions that you don't, right now, you don't need to go to a book to read them. You don't need to learn it. You got the best lawyer in the country right here. What say you? What questions do you have for Mr. Davis pertaining to your case?
First thing I want to say to Mr. Davis is, I called you. It was probably, well, it was like the same day that they took her.
Oh.
And you had told me how it's law that they have to let you see your daughter or your child within X amount of days of them removing her. And I called that caseworker who went and told the 5 lies. And she's arguing with me saying, no, you don't get to see her until, maybe a month. And I explained to her, I said, I've already talked to a couple of different attorneys and I've talked to some really good ones. I said, and they all say you will be violating mine and my daughter's constitutional rights if you do not let me see her. They took her on the 20th, and we had an interview thing with CPS on the 24th. And so they brought her on the 24th so we could see her. But that's only thanks to you. because that's what you told me. And I stand up for my rights the best I can.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. What was that question, though, that Darren wanted you to ask me?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, I was thinking about, I was wanting to tell you thank you, because if I hadn't contacted you the day they took her, it could have been a long time before we got to see her.
Right.
But the biggest thing that the people need to have their attorneys do is investigate every single person, because this so-called doctor who never had a license, he works in a multitude of different counties. And he had worked with this judge for 17 years. Once I found out that he never even had a limited license to be a therapist, I started calling the director of DHS. And I'm kind of
where does your case stand now? Where are you now with your daughter and such? Like, where are you? What point are you?
Well, now
you've said that they've taken off the table they're not trying to terminate your parental rights, but do you have visitation?
Yep.
Have you seen her? Do you contact
her?
No,
we're working on that now. They the therapist that they've had her seeing, they don't want to use her, so they're wanting the new therapist that me and my ex-fiance are talking with now. They want to bring my daughter over to have her be her therapist. She's a really good therapist, I guess, and she's knows a whole lot about sexual abuse and stuff. And she can, the way my attorney said it is, she can see through their bull crap.
Yeah.
So there's a better chance at getting my daughter back. But
have you completed everything that they've asked you? I mean, obviously you said that they got you 26 weeks of SAMHSA. They got you all, like, have you completed everything in this 3 years that they've asked of you? Like, there should be no reason for them.
Well, they told me I had to see a therapist at least 2 times a month. So I've been seeing a therapist for 4 times a month. I just doubled up on it.
Yeah.
Then they stopped using that place where that therapist is. So they gave me this other guy named Rick Lou. Well, I can't say his name. Gave me this other therapist who'd come to my house. And me and him had a good report the second time around. The first time, here's a mistake I made. Whoever's watching this, don't make this mistake. I explained to this guy that everybody, and I mean everybody, is making money,
including him,
is making money off the backs of these children. He's like, well, explain to me what you mean. I said, well, the therapist, the doctors, other therapists. I said, Rick, not to make you mad, but even you are making money.
Of course.
And he blew up. And that first time we talked, we did not have a good report. And but then the second time, I had learned from that mistake.
Real quick.
So I didn't tell the man that he was making money anymore off of them. And then he started getting really mad at him because they weren't paying him the money. So he would stop giving them reports on different people. And so, they're crying. We need our reports. And he's like, I ain't giving them shit. They don't want to pay me. They don't get my work. And then
Hey, that was a
the
good
last
sound
time I seen the man, I had just got my court pack, and I was showing him where this caseworker had committed more felonies. And I'm going through it, and all of a sudden I see a report from him. I'm like, this ain't got my name on it. I said, ain't this a HIPAA law that they broke? I said, I think this caseworker is drunk right now because she just gave me this other guy's report that you did on that guy, and she put it in my court pack. I said, how many times have she doing this? And another thing I did, I couldn't figure out. Well, I started my own Facebook group because I realized Facebook will take your First Amendment rights. So I started my own Facebook group, and I realized, I can say whatever I want, really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm scrolling through all the people, and I see the caseworker in there. Now, I never approved her to be in my Facebook. I never asked her to be in mine, so she shouldn't have been there. So I finish what I'm doing, and this is a big no-no. Don't do this if you can get so lucky to get something. I opened her up, and the first thing I see is how she's bragging about helping parents keep their sobriety and drug testing them. And I start scrolling down, and she's got rows and rows of different alcohol bottles, and it's her hand holding on to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, these people, they think that they are God.
At.
They think that they're really doing God's work. And Mr. Davis says that. These caseworkers, some of them truly do believe that they are saving the world. And I don't understand, with this much anger and upset and everything manifesting against them, how they can truly not understand what they're doing as far as the public is concerned, or us anyway.
Now get this. Then she's got this thing wrote up. It says it's so hard to drink 8 glasses of water in a day. But I can go to the bar, I can drink 8 shots, 7 glasses of beer. It goes down faster than a fat kid on a seesaw. Now I see a problem with this.
A kid drinking alcohol.
This woman is bragging.
Keep their sobriety.
So then there's this other one I see.
Oh wow, that was
I see this other one. Now, granted, she's a black woman, but I find this highly offensive. She has a thing. It says only black parents can decipher this. So I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure it out, and I can't figure it out. So I put it out on my Facebook. This Indian girl comes back to me and says, here's how this deciphers. Get your black ass in the motherfucking house before I beat the motherfucking shit out of you. Now, she's a CPS caseworker.
Oh, Lordy.
Her job is to protect children. So I screenshot all this stuff, and I sent it to number 2 over DHS. She got madder than hell because I sent it to everybody, but mainly second in command over DHS.
Mm-hmm.
That was another mistake. You know?
You should say, well, she came on your Facebook page. You didn't find her. She found you.
Hey, Jeff.
Exactly.
Jeff, I'm going to give you a secret, okay?
Okay.
The tip. Here's the
and
tip.
This actually was given to me maybe 1 or 2 years out of law school. I was working at a law firm and a senior associate gave me this. He called me. At that time, I was very rough around the edges. Okay, but I thought I was smart and I knew everything because at the time I was a lawyer and a CPA. So basically, I thought my shit didn't stink. Anyway, he called me in the office one day and he hands me a book, and it's a little paperback book, and it's called "How to Win Friends and Influence People."
I got that book from the library.
And it's written by Dale Carnegie. Required reading at some of the top business schools in this country. I had never heard of this book. I had never heard of Dale Carnegie. And he told me, he said, "Vince, read this book. I think you need it. I think you need it." Well, I kind of looked at it and flipped through it, and I kind of laughed at him, and I tossed it back to him. And I said, "Tim, you must be crazy. I don't need that." Fast forward about 10 years. I'm in a business with a guy that's older than me. He's my partner. And he's a lawyer and a CPA. And after working with him for a few months, he calls me in and he hands me the book. I look at it. He says, "You ever hear this book?" Of course I have. Hasn't everyone? Well, I only heard about it because someone tried to give it to me 10 years before. And he said to me, he said, "You need to read this book. It's affecting our business." Now, we weren't in the law firm business. We were in another kind of business. And he says, "And I suggest that you read that book once a year, every year." And I was kind of like, well, I don't know. He says, and then he says to me, "Every time you read it, your income will go up at least $25,000 a year."
Oh, wow.
Boing. What did I do?
He's read that book every year or once a year.
And I can tell you, when I practice the rules in that book, they're effective, like 99.9% of the time. I can tell when I don't practice those rules, I'm probably not successful 99.9% of the time. Okay? You're absolutely right about what you said. And if you haven't read that book, I would read it once a year, especially if you're going into politics. Because the book is written by a layman, kind of a very famous layman, Dale Carnegie, but it has these rules that he has must be rules from psychology. Must be. So I think that if you're going to do a CPS case, you got to back up and you got to follow some of these rules. What do you think?
That's true. When I was doing, which is funny, the guy that does the anger management classes, he even told this caseworker that I don't have a problem with anger. I have a problem because all I did is graduated high school, became a truck driver. I have a problem with how I talk to people, that my words sometimes will cut sharper and faster than a razor blade, but I don't have an anger problem. And, but that didn't matter to her. She wanted to keep saying I got anger problem. But one of the guys in that course told me, "You need to go get this book and read it." And I said, "Well, I don't read that good." So I went to the library and I asked them if they got the book and if they got it on tape. And they did. Mm-hmm. They had it on DVD. So I was able to, listen to it.
Right.
Which helps you get a lot more out of it, at least for me.
Yeah.
When you're driving that truck too, right?
Hey, Jeff, I want to thank you for being on this evening.
You were rocking, man.
We're a little over the show, but I want to ask Grace to contact you. Maybe you can join us in our nationwide fight to change laws, elect officials and judges that will be family friendly. Because we've discovered what you've discovered. The only way to make a change is through voting. And here's a guy that's ran for public office and running for another public office.
You got to get in them trenches with all that trash to make a difference.
Right.
I learned there's no way I can stand out here and protest them. But I mean, it was funny. I had the judge pull up out there and watch me. I had the prosecutor pull up out there and watch me. And that was kind of fun because, I've never seen a judge outside of a courtroom until I was having a protest. And I even invited CPS to come and talk in my protest. I said, if I'm so wrong, why don't you come out when I'm protesting and talk? Explain to me where I'm wrong, or let me explain to you where you're wrong. If they,
hey, Grace,
they didn't want to do it.
Grace, if you're listening, please call him about perhaps being a captain for the state of Michigan, perhaps joining our platform as being a co-host or a host. And Jeff, I want to thank you again. Be cognizant that Grace, our producer, is going to be contacting you, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, you're awesome, man. You're the best. Keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Good night. All right.
That was good stuff right there. That fired me up.
So I still don't understand why he didn't get his kids back. It's
technically, still kinda,
Well, because I was being quiet the whole time.
He explained that you were asleep.
Oh, I was not asleep. My eyes were closed. Like Darren.
So what we're doing tonight is this: Deidre's like a shark, right? She's got to move her lips to get the energy. Like sharks have to breathe to move. Deidre has to talk, and that's what peps her up. If she can't talk, she has no energy. She's dying.
And anytime I would try and talk, then you wouldn't even let me talk.
Can you send me a link to your green screen, Deidre? I like that.
Where did you get the
I already asked him. Where's my email? He didn't email me nothing. I put it in the chat. I even checked my email too before the show to make sure I was doing something.
I'm doing it right now. I will do it right now.
You notice that there's not any distortion around the edges on that green screen she has?
Right.
Oh, I don't even know what the green screen does or is.
It's crazy. She's got the lighting. The lighting makes it perfect for her. It shows no distortion at all.
Right.
Are you being sarcastic?
Are you just getting off work or something?
Well, unless you really have lights on you.
I'm in a car. I don't have any lights on me. It's just the background.
Right here. Check it out. Ready? Look at this.
Oh, Lordy, it really is a green screen?
Did you just get off work, Deidre?
No, I'm going to work. I'm in the parking lot.
When's your first break?
Remember, I do my own scheduling.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so I'm supposed to what? Hang that behind me?
Yeah.
I never see a green screen behind you guys.
Hey,
we have nice graphics.
Hey, Darren, would you send her a YouTube on green screen, please?
Yep.
He hasn't sent me nothing. Oh, Lordy.
Email. I will definitely do that. That way, because Mr. J is going to get mad at me too if I don't skip these emails to you. You're going to tell on me. I know it.
I already put it in the chat. Oh, man.
All right, folks. I'll see you guys. Are you guys going to be on tomorrow? Tomorrow morning at 9?
Morning?
Oh, It's Saturday again.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. I love Saturday.
Right,
it's not 9 for him. It's what, 12 for you, Darren?
Yeah, but that's like 9 to me for you guys,
Well, yeah, that's what I said.
We'll see everyone tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
All right.
And I hope Deidre gets a good night's sleep.
I'll get that green screen. Goodbye.